Brooklyn.
People who understand or are familiar with Need for Speed from the past, it's always been about high-end exotic, mostly European sports cars. Even though those are aspirational cars to everybody, I mean, I'm like everybody else, I'd love to drive a Ferrari. The reality is, I don't make that kind of money, and I've got other concerns, and most people are never going to park $1 million car inside their garage, right? So for us, it was, even though we know those are aspirational, is there another product that can sit on the shelf side by side that's more relevant to what kids are doing? And when we looked around, obviously, films like The Fast and the Furious brought that stuff to the forefront and said, this is what kids are doing with cars today. They're taking their mom's Ford Focus that they get as a hand-me-down car, first car. Everybody knows what it's like to get your first car. You want to drive it, but you also want to be cool because all your buddies are going to be looking at what you drive. Now what these kids are doing is they take their McDonald's money and drop $100 at a time into these cars over a year, 2 years, and they basically Frankenstein a sports car out of something like a Ford Focus. So you get a car that looks like this, which is really a beautiful car that has amazing performance characteristics, right? So the more money that you put into it, the better you can make it. Actually perform. So what we do is we take a car from its base model, anywhere from 90 horsepower to some of our higher end ones are in the mid 300s, and allow you to tune it up to something that's 400, 500, 600 horsepower. So they're really, if you sit them side by side with a Ferrari and a Porsche, some of these cars can actually beat those cars. So it just, and the thing about it is it's individual expression with the kids today too. So, the idea behind the game from the beginning was let 1,000 kids have this focus in the game, but give them enough ability to tune and tweak this car to make it look exactly like they want. So what we've really said internally, what we've said a lot of times is that this is sort of the Sims of driving games, right? So it's about my individual expression. How do I take this car and make it my own and make it different than yours, make it cool and make you want to have that car as well. So this is all about the street culture. It's all about street racing. The idea of the game, the basic premise is, you go out, you get races, you win the money, you take that money, pour it back into your car, and you can upgrade it both visually and performance-wise. There are 15 different categories on the car that you can upgrade visually, so whether it be paint or neon, front bumpers, rear bumpers, wide body kits, all that stuff's available. And then as well, there are 9 different performance areas of the car as well. So what we do is on the performance areas of the car, we do kits and packages, so you don't have to be a mechanic to understand how to upgrade your car. You just look at this kit, and it says, here's the things that you're going to put on your car, here's what you have to do to it, and that you'll actually feel in the car as you drive it. We are going to have car damage. It's not in yet. It's a little bit different problem than we've had in past Need for Speed games or in other car driving games, and the reason is because when you go into the game's all about customization, right? So there are hundreds of different parts that you can put on the car. So when you do that, the parts that you put on the car all have different shapes and they attach at different points to the car. So when you deform, if you do normal deformation of the vertices and things, you have to worry about where they intersect, right? So if I deform a front bumper one way versus how I do it on a different one, you could have parts that are intersecting with each other. So we've actually come up with a new technology that is going to be pretty revolutionary that will enable us to deform the car in a natural way with all the added parts onto it. So it's going to be pretty neat. Yeah, one of the things we concentrated on a lot at the beginning of the game was how to make the game different, how to make it relevant to people, and how to really accentuate that sensation of speed. I mean, the game is called Need for Speed, right? The problem with most games is when you play them, the speedometer might say you're going 75 to 100 miles an hour. The problem is it doesn't actually feel that way. Now, most kids, admit it or not, have driven a car 100 miles an hour at some point, and that sensation is, you feel that through your whole body, whether it be through your hands, through your ears, all your senses come into play. The problem is that most video games don't translate that. So I'll be driving a car that says I'm going 75 miles an hour. It doesn't feel like I'm going 75 miles an hour. So we really wanted to concentrate on that. So with the emphasis on speed, what we did is we brought in a Hollywood visual effects artist, a guy named Habib Zargarpur, who's a 2-time Oscar nominee, worked on the pod sequence from Star Wars Episode 1 and also developed the wave technology from The Perfect Storm. So this guy understands how speed works and how computers work in some of the tricks you can do in the movie scene. So he came in, we sat down, we talked about things like the drag racing and the driving, and we said, how do we make these feel faster? So he saw what we were doing, he saw some of the visual tricks that we could do, sat down with the programmers and said, here's all the things that we need to do. The cool thing is we got some amazing people working on this game, and they were able to say, the rendering guys were able to say, yeah, we can do that. And when we started to apply them, and we started to use some of the scientific nature of this stuff, which sounds crazy when you're talking about a video game, but there's a lot of math that goes into it and a lot of science that goes into it. the effects started to come through. So when you play Underground, it will feel like you're going fast, and it's really funny to watch some people playing with the higher end cars in the game, because when they do things like drag races, you'll see them have a physical reaction to the game, which is exactly what we try to do. When you can get somebody to jump back from their chair and from their controller because they're reacting to what's going on in the world, and you actually see them sweating because the game is almost too fast, that's a really neat sensation, right? And it's always easy to dial it back, but it's really hard to get that to start with. 2-player on every platform, just out of the box. But then on the PS2 and also the PC, it'll be 4-player online capable as well. So you'll be able to go on match up against other players. Every mode that's available offline will be available online in 4-player mode. Yeah, the idea is you take all that stuff from your single-player game, take it online. So we want to do stuff like we want to be able to have people show off their cars and be able to get props from their friends. So it's one thing for me to sit in my room at night, play this game, build out a cool car, but if I can't show it to anybody, if I can't save it to my memory card, take it over to your house, what fun is that? And when I can get it online and everybody can see how cool my car looks, that's even better. So one of the things that we're doing with that as well is we have a system in the game, so we have hundreds of parts in the game, but a small section of those parts are unique parts. You cannot buy those parts, they can only be one. So what happens is when the game starts up, they're randomly seeded. So even though there might be 5 of one type of part, you're only going to get one of them. So the idea being that when I see your car, I might see something that I haven't seen in my game. So I might have opened up everything that I can open up, but I still haven't seen that part, and that's because I haven't randomly seeded it in my game. So again, trying to create community where if you have a cool part that I want, I can pull it off your car, you can trade it to me, and then I get everything. I think in video games, every once in a while, you strike gold, and everything comes together at once, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it be, with some games, there's just nothing that's weak about it. So, our audio is outstanding, and we're really working hard to make sure that accentuates the graphics, which are also outstanding, which accentuate the physics and the gameplay. So, to pick any one thing would be selling everything else short, and I think the reason why the game looks and plays as good as it does is because it is a complete package. So, we've decided to focus on less and make sure that everything is 100%. So, it feels good from that standpoint. We announced today it's coming out before Christmas. So, before E3, we were planning on being a spring title, and then after E3 we decided to pull it back in and let everybody have it for Christmas of this year.